Hello and welcome to the Green Room podcast. I'm your host, Garon Green, and I'm genuinely glad that you're here today. And before we begin, I want to slow everything down for a moment. And within this episode, this is not surface conversation, this is not a motivational noise, and this is not theory, this is real life. And we're going to talk a little bit about grief, we're going to talk a little bit about suicide, we're going to talk about addiction, and we are going to talk about what it feels like to be human when everything feels like it's too much to carry alone. These are lived experiences, not abstract ideas, not distance, and not theory. Real emotional truth. And if at any point this becomes too heavy, you're allowed to pause, you're allowed to breathe, you're allowed to come back later. There is no pressure here, only honesty. And if you're listening right now and something in you already feels fragile, quiet, or overwhelmed, just know this, that you are not alone, even if it feels like you are. Now let's begin. And I wanted to talk about the mask that men learn to wear. What I've noticed as being a male myself and a male practicing therapist over the years, I've kind of noticed through my own upbringing and something we are taught as men early in life without ever saying it out loud, but being strong, don't cry, don't break, definitely don't show fear, be dependable, be the one who holds everything together, and be the rock. And most men don't resist this message because it becomes their identity, not instruction. So over time, a version of a man is built. A version that works, a version that performs, a version that looks stable, a version others rely on. But underneath that version, something else forms quietly. Fear, pressure, emotional exhaustion, and a belief that becomes internal truth. I have to keep going no matter what. Most men are not emotionally empty. They are emotionally overloaded. Too full, too much unspoken, too much unprocessed. But there is nowhere safe for it to go. So it gets stored, held, compressed, hidden, until it leaks out in other ways. So withdrawal, anger, numbness, unhealthy habits like addiction, and silence. And from the outside, with that mask that we wear showing to the world, we still look fine. And giving you a UK statistics on male mental health and the reality around this. In the UK today, 3 out of every 4 suicides are men, and that's 75%. Suicide is the leading cause for death of men under 50, not illness, not accidents, suicide. And male suicide rates are at their highest level in over 20 years. This is not just data, this is pressure without release. And around 1 in 5 adults experience mental health difficulties in the UK are 24% women and 15% men. But this is not about suffering less, it's about speaking less. Only around 36% of NHS talking therapy referrals are men. And nearly 1 in 4 men say they would never seek help. Never. not because they don't need it, but because they've learned not to reach out for it. Men are also likely to experience addictions. Men are more likely to experience homelessness, more likely to go missing, and more likely to die by suicide, and less likely to speak before crisis. And as a few of you may know, one of my all-time favourites with his wise wisdom was Carl Jung, and speaking about the shadow, which Carl Jung called it, everything we suppress, everything we avoid, everything we never learned how to express, so fear, grief, shame, anger, loneliness. Jung said, until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct our lives and we will call it fate. And I see this constantly with men within my private work. And that's been a decade and, God, 6.5, nearly 7,000 hours. And give or take, female clients I've had within my practice up until this day. But I see this constantly with men when they come into the room. Functioning externally while collapsing internally. And what men can really experience is a man sits in his car before going inside, not because anything dramatic has happened, but because everything can feel heavy. A man goes through the day smiling, performing, then goes home and becomes silent. A man lays in bed at night, staring at the ceiling. I can't keep doing this, but says nothing because there are no words for it. And there is something I'm quite comfortable speaking about publicly, but I feel it matters here. And because I don't speak from theory all the time, I speak from my own lived experience. And over the years, decades, I've experienced loss that changed the shape of my life. Friends I grew up with passed on. People I shared my life with passed on. Family members, close ones too, one after another. And slowly I realized something quietly. My world had permanently changed. And before my counseling journey and the road which led me up until today, there was quite a different life out there before this in my past. So periods of my addiction, periods of instability, and periods where everything around me collapsed. Loss after loss. Back in the late 2020, I walked out of my marriage, not from anger, but from emotional exhaustion. And after that, there was no stability waiting for me, just uncertainty. I sofa surfed. I stayed with my mum, sofa surfing, moving between places if I could have a sofa to crash on, and trying not to feel like a burden on top of people. And there was even nights where I slept in my car. Just surviving and getting through the night. And during the COVID lockdown, there was no change with me. I was still working my daily job as we done with addictions and housing and homelessness. I mean, it's 365 days a year. There was no sitting from home and work from home. It was quite a tough time for myself. And throughout those times and the transitions I was making, I was sleeping in my car, building my therapy practice and holding on to what I had there. I was working full time, trying to function, and sometimes driving late at night just to stay regulated the best I could. Walking for hours till the early hours just to steady my mind Then I'd go and do a workout at the gym, go and have a shower so I could go on to my full-time job for that day. And almost like, a survival meditation before I had a language for it. And no one honestly come to rescue me. I had to use what I already had. The tools that I've been trained in, I turned inward just to survive. My breathing, my grounding, my structure, my containment, my presence. Not perfectly, certainly not easily, but just enough to keep me going. And slowly, shifts started to happen. Not dramatically, not quickly, but quietly, I rebuilt. And what I learned in this is you don't always need rescue to survive. Sometimes you learn how to stay with yourself until life begins to change again. And that survival became something else. It became understanding, and that understanding became my counseling journey, which has helped me grow up until this day. And now working with my private practice with men. I'm not saying I don't work with females, because I do, but my main area is working with males and mental health and men who are where I was once. And I don't meet them, certainly not with judgment. I meet them with recognition and compassion to let them know when they do go into that moment of vulnerability, I've got you, I'm with you, and I will sit with that shadow with you. Because seriously, I've been there too, on more than one occasion. And if you're listening to this podcast now, you truly are not weak for struggling. You are not broken for feeling lost. And you seriously are not alone. It may feel like that sometimes. You are still here, and all that matters. And loss can change everything for us. It strips illusion. It removes certainty. It also clarifies what matters: connection, honesty, presence, and the quiet bravery. The amount of times when I see a guy growing from his own personal growth, and I kind of smile here a little bit, because the amount of guys who don't like looking at their own strengths and qualities of what they've achieved, how they've grown, how they've survived. Most guys completely avoid this like a plague. And if you compliment and help a client reflect on what they've achieved so far, seriously, most clients within my practice don't know what to do with a compliment. They sit quite awkwardly about that, but we do grow and embrace that sometimes of our successes, which can make us feel good. It can make us feel empowered because of all the hard work we've had to put in place. We are allowed to acknowledge that, guys. And I know there's so many guys out there who don't like exploring their strengths and qualities, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't challenge my clients. And letting you know that bravery is not loud. It's not performance, and it's certainly not pretending. Bravery is continuing while struggling inside. Bravery is staying when you feel like disappearing. And bravery is showing up anyway. Even though we're fearful, we want to avoid, we want to run to the hills. Showing up shows true bravery on what I see guys come into my practice of having to drop their guard down for me and explore really vulnerable places with them. So showing up is, believe it or not, really brave for any man to do. And what I say to many of my clients is in regards to, it makes a brave man to open up in therapy than a man walking around pretending it's okay, storing everything. The frustration, the anger, the fear, the anxiety. We're like a ticking time bomb. And sometimes we have to ignite or explode before we start learning. And this is a message to anybody out there. And if you're listening and you feel alone, I really want you to hear this. And you really are not the only one. You are not weak. You're not broken. You're not failing. You are human. And you've carried more than most people will ever see. Reaching out is not a weakness. It's in the moment you stop carrying everything alone. You don't have to be strong all the time. You just have to stay. And if you'd like to know more about the work that I do, feel free to have a look at www.GaronGreenTherapies.com, and you can have a look at all the information on my website, as well as the link you can click on there and join the Green Room podcast. And I truly want to say thank you to you, the listeners, for hearing this short podcast on giving some people some information on what some of us guys can go through. And if you've got a story to tell, which is inspiring, and be able to reach out to that one person struggling to inspire them, feel free to get in touch at GaronGreenTherapies@gmail.com. And if you've got a story to share which you feel would be inspiring to others, feel free to get in touch. And I want to say thank you to listening. And I do have some more guests coming up within the coming months, which I'm really excited about. And I will drop on some of these single podcasts every so often, and we could explore different things like grief, addictions, etc. So I've got a few ideas tucking away in my brain. So thank you so much for listening. This is Garon Green signing out from the Green Room podcast. Take care of yourselves and be safe.